It seems I have underestimated you.
Welcome back, Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in Obi-Wan Kenobi Chapter 4. This is the episode where Obi-Wan makes his turning point. It's when he realizes that he can't hide in the shadows and waste away. He needs to take the fight directly to the Empire. It's not a coincidence that this is the episode that begins with him struggling to use the Force, but by the end, he's holding back tons of water and using the old Jedi mind trick. He even gets back his old saber twirl from the prequels. Our own editor-in-chief Matt Singer had a great observation about this show. It seems like, so far, every episode has been mirroring the same chapter in the Skywalker saga. Episode 1 featured the kidnapping of a young woman and takes place on Tatooine. Episode 2 deals with intrigue and is set on a water world and a neon underworld. Episode 3 has an Anakin and Obi-Wan lightsaber duel with a character being very badly burned, and this episode has many similarities to Episode 4 A New Hope, which I will go over as we go along. And I just have to say before we start that I owe Obi-Wan composer Natalie Holt an apology. For the past few weeks, I've been wrongly saying that John Williams composed the music on this show, but he just did the opening theme. I am sorry. Or as Obi-Wan would say,
I was wrong.
The episode begins with Ben in the bacta tank intercut with Vader. Now Vader's bacta mask is bigger, so it's more similar to the shape of his actual mask, whereas Ben's mask is much smaller. It reveals more of his face, much like the one that Luke wore in The Empire Strikes Back. And here's an Easter egg that we missed. We posted a talkback yesterday where IDW senior editor Heather Antos pointed out that Vader is still fighting with Anakin's fighting style, not the one that we see him use in the original trilogy. It's a great observation. Ben is having flashbacks in the bacta, kind of like how Boba Fett had to watch his whole life in bacta before he could do crime. After he gets up, we see the small Jedi sanctuary. The guy who runs the place, Roken, makes a couple of interesting name drops.
So does every kid making a rock flow from here to Coruscant.
Referencing the capital of the Empire. And he calls Ben General, meaning that he's more familiar with him from his time as a soldier in the Clone Wars. This is also how Leia addressed him in A New Hope.
General Kenobi.
Then they make a plan on how to rescue Leia using nifty Star Wars hologram planning technology. They're breaking into Fortress Inquisitoris on the water planet Nur, which was first introduced in Jedi Fallen Order. Now, I did not realize that this planet was in the same system as Mustafar. So we have a fire planet and a water planet that are near each other, perfectly balanced, as all things in the Force should be. The fortress has two spires at the top, representing the Sith rule of two, where there is always a master and an apprentice. So far, Obi-Wan Kenobi is pretty great, and I love how the Star Wars saga is expanding on Disney+. I do get a little frustrated that I still need so many streaming services just to watch, say, a Spider-Man movie.
It's like we're all back to basically paying for cable.
Yeah, but get this. I recently did a purge and canceled about $60 worth of streaming services, and I can still watch almost any movie on streaming.
How did you do that?
Well, I did it using NordVPN. They're the sponsor of this video. See, just about any movie you can think of is streaming on Netflix, but just maybe not in the United States. So NordVPN lets me change my IP address to any country. So I can watch a Spider-Man movie on Netflix via another country where it's streaming there. It's like adding free streaming sites on top of the ones that I'm already paying for. So I've been using NordVPN to watch movies for years, but recently I started using their new feature, Threat Protection. One time I got this virus on my computer that hijacked my browser so I couldn't get rid of a malware Chrome extension. It was a big pain in the butt. I wish that I'd had NordVPN's Threat Protection because they could have prevented it. Threat Protection protects from malicious sites, downloads, trackers, and intrusive ads. It's actually the only ad blocker that I use now. So let's say you click on some suspicious attachment accidentally. Threat Protection deletes the download before it finishes, protecting your desktop from getting infected. It's also really easy to use, and it even runs when your VPN isn't active, which is huge because you may not be in the habit of always connecting your VPN as soon as you use your computer. So if you go to nordvpn.com/screencrush or click the link in the description, you get a huge discount on a 2-year plan and 1 month for free. The free month is only available through YouTube, so click our link and get your computer protected today. Back to the Easter eggs. Ben mentions using T-47s to attack the Citadel, and Roken points out that these are used for towing gear. These are actually the air speeders that the Rebellion used on Hoth, and they use those same towing cables to trip up the legs of the Imperial walkers. It looks like that using them as fighter craft was originally Ben's idea, so the rebels owe their victory at Hoth to General Kenobi. Back on Nur, Reva is beginning her interrogation of Leia, another parallel to A New Hope.
We will discuss the location of your hidden rebel base.
And just like in A New Hope, Leia tries to use deception instead of giving away her secrets.
They're on Tatooine. I'll have to tell my father first.
Reva mentions there was a Jedi Path stronghold on Baldnab, a backwater planet from the Clone Wars episode Nomad Droids. Then she lays down the piece of the wall with its symbol of the Jedi Order that we first saw numerous times in the prequel trilogy. Now this image is meant to invoke both a lightsaber and the light that the Jedi are bringing to the galaxy. And you know, watching this show, no wonder Leia wasn't even fazed when she was captured by Vader.
Darth Vader. Only you could be so bold.
Girl's been going through this her entire life. To get past Imperial security, Tala hands over her code cylinder. Now we always saw officers carry these things in the original trilogy, but I don't believe we ever saw them actually used until The Mandalorian. She ends up bluffing this guy with vague threats of reporting to his superiors. And look, this is more than just a cliche way of getting past security. Spies do this all the time in Star Wars because Palpatine has created an empire that runs on fear. You see this a lot in the Thrawn books. I mean, everybody is terrified of the officer above them, and those officers are terrified of Vader, and everybody is scared shitless of Palpatine. So, the greatest flaw in Palpatine's empire is also the very thing that fuels the power of the Sith: fear. Tala and Ben use the same communicators from A New Hope.
3PO!
Come on.
And to infiltrate the fortress, Ben uses the same breathing device that he and Qui-Gon used on Naboo. Back to Leia, where Reva is trying and failing to break into her mind. This is very reminiscent of how Leia's son tried to crack into Rey's mind, but she was too strong in the Force.
You're afraid that you will never be as strong as Darth Vader.
Then she drops this line.
The braver you seem, the more afraid you are. I learned that at a very young age as well.
And you know who talks like that? Her. Someone who knows fear. Someone who knew fear as a child. It would not surprise me at all if Reva was indeed that Padawan from the start of the show. Last week, we posited a theory that the reason she hates Obi-Wan is because he did nothing to escape these escaped younglings after Order 66. In fact, he posted a message deterring Jedi from returning to the temple.
Trust in the Force. Do not return to the temple. That time has passed.
Which would have left Reva and her friends hanging out to dry. Obi-Wan is avoiding a seeker droid, which makes the same sounds as the Imperial probe droid that we first saw in Empire. And if you watch this scene with subtitles, you'll see that the stormtroopers are talking about how the Citadel gives them the creeps, and they hope that they won't be stationed there much longer. Guess what? They won't be. To distract them, Obi-Wan uses the same Jedi mind trick that he will employ in A New Hope.
What was that? Over there. Let's go.
Kenzie on Twitter pointed out that Reva takes Leia to the same interrogation chamber from the Jedi Fallen Order game. And I thought these were Death Troopers, but as they point out, these are Purge Troopers from the same game. Now these are Stormtroopers that are trained specially to fight Jedi, and they serve directly under the Inquisitors. The secure sector is marked with a red Imperial seal on black, which makes it look way more like the insignia of the Sith. And inside, Obi-Wan realizes something.
This place isn't a fortress. It's a tomb.
We see several killed Jedi trapped in stasis, a lot like Luminar Unduli in Star Wars Rebels. The Heavy Channel spoilers had a great theory about this. The Jedi are kept this way so Palpatine can learn how to clone their midi-chlorians, like we see him trying to do in The Mandalorian and in The Rise of Skywalker. So I guess everything in Star Wars is now geared toward explaining this.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Josh Millman on Twitter pointed out that Obi-Wan calling the fortress a tomb is even more accurate when you see that the Inquisitor's meeting room is surrounded by the lightsabers from all the Jedi they've captured and killed. And you know what? I didn't notice those lightsabers before. Well done. The Jedi in the room are kept pretty vague on purpose, but we do see one that looks like Quinlan Vos. That's the Clone Wars character who was referenced last episode.
Quinlan was here.
Although Tala talked about him like he was still alive.
Yeah, he helps now and again.
So if this is him, then she has no idea that he's dead. And this is Tara Sanub, an old veteran Jedi who helped train younglings like Dooku and Sifo Dyas. There was a great Clone Wars episode where he and Ahsoka went on an investigation together.
Pardon me, Master Sanube?
What? Who? I was just resting my eyes.
And this Jedi appeared in The Mandalorian, This Is Your Mom. Now, I could be wrong, but this character does not look like a Jedi to me. This actually looks like one of the witches of Dathomir. These were Force-sensitive women who practiced a variation of the dark side of the Force and were actually a threat to Darth Sidious. In the comics, Sidious actually sends Dooku to completely wipe them out. Darth Maul is actually from Dathomir, and the witches helped heal him after his Haven. And some people even think that this could be Mace Windu. It's not. Mace Windu's dead because this is what happens when you fall off of a skyscraper. Then Obi-Wan sees a youngling just as he hears the voice of another youngling, Leia. As he saves her, this scene seems closely modeled after this sequence from The Force Unleashed. Wade McComas on Twitter pointed out that the lighting matches when Han was frozen in carbonite where two different characters told Leia the same thing.
I know.
Tala is trying to distract Reva and she name drops planet Florum, which was the home of the Pirate King, Hondo Anaka.
You're welcome! Oh, the thanklessness! What an accusation! I am gone! I will send you my bill!
Then the Imperial alarm sounds just like we hear it in the original trilogy.
Confirms it then.
There's also an astromech droid in the hallway here and a mouse droid here like we first saw in A New Hope. In the hallway, Obi-Wan has to hold back cracked glass, mirroring Vader doing the exact same thing in a fortress hallway just like this in the game Fallen Order. This isn't just an Easter egg for the sake of an Easter egg. This show continues to deliberately draw parallels between Obi-Wan and Anakin. They match cut when they're in Bacta. Vader drags Ben through fire like he fantasized about doing in the comics. Great observation from heavy spoilers. And they're both haunted by memories of Padme.
Sometimes when I look at Luma, I see her mother's face.
In the hangar, Reva calls out, "A traitor!" Like this moment in The Force Awakens.
Traitor!
And just when all is lost, heroes and fighters come in to save the day, just like in A New Hope.
Look out!
But it turns out that they've been played, as Reva let them go intentionally. Vader would later copy this trick in Episode 4.
You're sure the homing beacon is secure aboard their ship? I'm taking an awful risk, Vader.
And remember, in A New Hope, Leia knew right away that the Empire let them go on purpose.
They let us go. It's the only explanation for the ease of our escape.
Well, yeah, but if Leia knew that the whole time, then why didn't she just say something when they escaped the Death Star?
Because of the Force.
Okay, then.
Right on. Well, that's all the Easter eggs we found, but if you found any, let us know in the comments below, or you can @me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.